Hi everybody, welcome to
Hi.
the Unsolved Forum from Panacea eBiz Consulting Group. As we are getting ready to get into active business engagement, for the last couple of weeks there have been various discussions, various strategic discussions, various thoughts, various processes which have been going through various entrepreneurs' mind. We have been discussing online over meetings and over various forums. Based on those inputs, it brings us today to our topic, business strategy post-pandemic. Obviously, there can't be anything very, very specific, but there are very clear pointers and very clear learning for small, medium, and large business operations as we embark on the journey post-pandemic. And today, we are going to have a open discussion around the strategies, though we will be focusing on few issues because the topic is quite exhaustive. We encourage participants, they can put in their queries midway, or they can raise a particular query while the discussion is going on. We would like it to be more engaging than only coming from us. Now, as we look at every company in the world, the question we have been faced with, what could be the business strategy? What's going to happen when the pandemic is over? Today, as we're talking, grocery stores and consumer packaged good manufacturers have experienced an unexpected boom in sales. But will that growth sustain? As we talk to hotel industries, airline sectors, and other areas, they have a drop in demand. But the question is, after post-pandemic, will business come back? These questions will be there, and as few weeks from now, it will become more discussed. People are becoming very aggressive in terms of how to go about. This is what we are going to discuss. Along with me today, I have with me on the panel Mr. C.D. Ramesh
Hello.
and Mr. Ravindra Goel.
Hi.
Mr. C.D. Ramesh has a rich experience of, I would say, more than 28 years in the corporate sector. Today, he is consulting and coaching various corporate leaders across the country and abroad too. Prior to being a consultant and coach, he used to head the human resource and administrative and L&D operation for DHFL. He has acted as a senior vice president, human resource for Kotak Mahindra Bank. He has been also heading the training and talent acquisition for Sutherland Global BPO. Prior to that, he has been the general manager, banking and finance vertical in the training division of Enhanced Sparta Limited. He is an Iron Angler alumni. He is also a certified coach, business coach. Welcome, Mr. Ramesh, to the forum.
Thank you, Sandeep.
Mr. Ravindra Goel, most of you are familiar with, is an integral part and a promoter of Panacea eBiz Consulting Group.
Hello.
Mr. Goel comes with a rich experience of 25 years of implementing training across the country. He has managed more than 300 plus franchise operations of his own across the length and width of the country and have facilitated and helped youngsters in grooming and getting ready for the industry. At the same time, he has been interacting with the industry at all levels. Today, he is also mentoring and guiding 3 to 4 tech startups and also advises few business firms. Mr. Goel, welcome once again.
Thank you, Sandeep.
To start off with in the discussion, we will keep our focus of discussion around three critical areas. One is an organization needs to be resilient to survive. Then we'll focus on the expected new culture and more about the human manpower because human drives each and every industry. And finally, we will embark upon technology enablement. To start off with, when we say an organization needs to be resilient, at present, as we discuss and work out and restructure with any businesses, irrespective of in which sector they are in, the major focus is how do we go to the next level? How do we survive? Survival is predominant and very important. With this in mind, Mr. Ramesh, if I may request you to throw some light in this direction, like you have been interacting with various organizations, how can an organization be resilient and what they should look forward to at this stage? Mr. Ramesh, please.
Yeah, it's a nice question. So, of course, I think it's not only at an organizational level, I think even for all of us as individuals, I think the critical thing is being resilient at this point in time. Now, resilience means one is survival, but I think the idea is to say it's not only about survival, can I emerge stronger?
Yes.
So that's the key which is going to drive the organization. So three things can happen. Some organizations will survive, some will emerge stronger, some may perish. Right. So the idea is, where do I want to be pegged? What do I want to do? Do I just want to merely survive, or do I also want to emerge stronger? Now, every of these difficulties also has got in a built-in opportunity. Now, the organizations, therefore, which are going to, see, three things are required. For example, I think the need of the hour is, first is respond. How am I responding to the current situation, right? In terms of my processes, my financial, my business models, how am I conserving cash, the way I'm managing my supply chain, the way I'm managing my consumption, my demand, my customers, my people. Yeah, now I need to take very quick steps to manage this current situation. I need to respond. So organizations have been responding, right from helping employees to kind of manage the situation, their well-being. They're doing various things, right from shutting their operations, closing down plants. I need to conserve money. I need to say what to do. Yeah, so they're responding. Yeah, some of them.
Right.
But the second thing is, while I've taken these measures to respond and kind of sail, I need to also revive. So the second stage is basically saying, how do I revive? Right now, the two scenarios can happen in this pandemic. What will happen is pandemic continues. That is one scenario. Right? So we never know. Okay, but the pandemic is going to, how long it's going to be there. Okay, or the pandemic stops. I mean, you have advanced level of probably good vaccinations coming in, medical care, and it becomes another cold and cough, and things become back to normal. Now we really don't know how all this is going to pan out. But one thing is for sure, it has changed. The way we look at things, the way business is going to be looked at, everything has changed. Now, when you talk about resilience, therefore, we know the first thing is optimism, that things is, every ending will have a beautiful beginning. Now, it's a pause button. Right? I need to say, how do I emerge out of this? Not only survive, but emerge stronger. Now, so I think the need for the organizations is to have that mindset among themselves first. Right? Start looking at their business models. Start looking at where do I need to weed out things, become more profitable. I need to look out, new products, new product lines. I think the best way is to now look at the core purpose. Why am I existing? Why did I start this business in the first place? I think that builds a lot of resilience in the organization. Okay, and start doing things around that purpose. Okay, and saying, yes, this is the purpose I'm here for, and then start actually building the organization, helping it first sail through this. All organizations are in the same storm, but they are not necessarily in the same boat. Now that's the important thing. They are in different contexts. I need to look at my organization and say, yes, this will pass, but I need to be ready when things become better. Prepare the organization so that I emerge stronger, not merely survive. So it can be processes, it can be products, it can be people, the way my supply chain is designed. So if I have to give up product lines, if I have to introduce new product lines, if I have to innovate, create new business models, I need to be ready with 4-5 business models because we have limited data at this moment. Now I need to have scenario building and then be ready. Okay, and one of the critical things at this point of time is going to be, I think, from a financial perspective, is to be cash is going to be the king. And I think they have to start looking at their entire financials. Let's start re-looking at their entire, cash flows and their debts and, everything else, and start seeing that money is there at this point in time. One way to build resilience is also to see if I can ease out debts as I go forward, because that's going to be painful. So all areas in terms of, my entire business model itself, being anchored on my values, what am I there for? What is the purpose I'm doing business? Transmitting that message to the people in the organization. Okay, and through their behaviors, through what they're, talking about. Okay, we are there for the long haul, but quickly. So one of the things which is going to be very important, therefore, is agility and speed. Now we can't wait for things to say, ऐसा होगा तो मैं ऐसा करूंगा, देखते हैं क्या होता है, because it may become too late by then. Okay, so one way is to act with speed, even with the limited data. Okay, start looking at cost optimization on one end, but also looking at business models, how I will be able to leverage, and emerge stronger once the situation becomes much better. Yeah, resilience is going to be the key. Okay, to being holding on. Okay, now being creative, being innovative, being strategic, looking at a long term. So you need a lot of leaders with a lot of resilience in the system now. Yeah, and then that's going to be the key.
What we need to focus on as entrepreneurs and leaders, what I hear Ramesh say is very critical. We can't keep waiting. We have to come out, discuss, explore, understand what my strengths are, where my customers are. I need to find ways to survive instead of just waiting, because by waiting and waiting, what may happen is, because we know people are there on the roads already,
Correct.
Not going out. We know companies are acquiring. Like yesterday, I was talking to you, I was talking to Sanjeev, I was talking to Mr. Goyal. Every day, there are funds coming into the market to acquire, looking at next 15 years of business plans.
Correct.
So anybody waiting and thinking that when the weather becomes better, I will come out and start business and investing, it will be too late. There will be people already occupying that market. Because even people are changing their business formats. While we are sitting inside the home, using web, online interactions, like you mentioned, people have been doing that, right?
Yeah, see, so what's happening, if you look at ourselves, the way we eat, the way we, meet with people, the way we buy things, right, what we are consuming, everything has changed.
Everything has changed.
Now, it's going to remain. I mean, you may come to a situation where you'll never go back to the previous stage. Okay, behaviors have changed tremendously. The customer psyche has changed, right? So one thing is, I need to now understand all this and be ready and prepare for myself. Probably my traditional way of working may not be suitable once this thing ends, right? So the key is going to be there that I immediately, quickly take stock of situation. First, survive, sail, close the gaps. A lot of gaps that the organizations have been exposed due to this pandemic, actually. Right now, I start plugging those gaps. Right, whether it is cost, whether it is resource utilization, whether it is my supply chain management, whether it's the way I interact with customers, everything, gaps have been exposed. Now I need to plug those things. It's a good time to do that. There's a good time when they say, the situation is like, I can't go fishing, but it's a good time to mend my nets. So I'm not able to go fishing, can I at least repair my nets? This is a good time to do that. Right, okay, so that the net is now ready, strong when the fishing starts again. Yeah, so that's the key to this entire thing, right? And definitely business model will change. The way you serve customers will change, right? The way you're going to, for example, if you look at the banking thing, digital banking is going to be the future, right? It's already today, they're forced to do digital bank. Now, the banker there has to become comfortable with digital way of acquiring customers. I need to do online KYC. I need to acquire customers online. I don't need to have to meet the customer. You know, banking may become 24/7. Like I can open an account at any point in the day, right? So it's going to be completely digitally enabled. Now, one other thing which is going to happen, technology, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
I'll just hold you on over there with the thought of digitization. Before delving further into it, I'd like to bring in Mr. Goel.
Yeah, sure.
At this juncture. Mr. Goel, sharing your entrepreneurial experiences and your mentoring experiences, as Ramesh has been rightly pointing it out, and we all know, like today, before the session, while we were having tea and we were discussing, it's not about Corona. Let's be very, very clear. If we think that Corona is the thing which will come today and disappear tomorrow, it will disappear. But the way we have evolved as humans across the globe, there's a climate change which we have to handle. So there will be a lot of disruptions which we have to get ready for.
Good.
So it's not going to be like things. So hence, coming to the resilience, and with that resilience, Mr. Goel, please, what are your thoughts and your...
You see, I agree with Ramesh. You see, ultimately, it is the time to get yourself ready for the time, for the good time. So one part. Second, when we talk about resilience, now Corona is one phase of it. I started my...
Mr. Goel, your voice is slightly low. If it can be...
How is it now?
Better, much better.
All right. So, you see, Corona is a new terminology, you can say, in terms of like a pandemic. But I remember I started my career way back in 1992 in education sector. And since then, we faced three, I must call them again pandemics. One was in 2000, Y2K problem came up. Then 2004, Indian industry had some players who came and played around with emotions and money of the people. Then 2008, around another round of financial crisis came up. So you see, every time crises do come, but in a different phase with a different, you must say that asking is different, but crisis is always there. Now, in all the three episodes, we have we emerged out as like again in a better way, as Ramesh said that you must be prepared. So the only thing what happens, what again I'm quoting Ramesh, that ultimately it is your how do you prepare yourself and how fast you adapt to the current situations. Now today, like banking or maybe delivery, if we talk about like Swiggy or VSafe or a lot of delivery applications have come up. And today you don't have to send your driver to pick and drop something. I mean, they'll come, bikers will come and they'll pick up material, they'll deliver it. So modus operandi is changing. The biggest, what you call the strength of the India, like when we used to talk about in the skilling forums, we used to call human resource is our biggest strength. And managing them is also one of the biggest challenge. Now, whether it is a company or a government or state governments or maybe any organization, if one person really focuses on manpower, I think most of the problems are resolved. How to deploy them, how to take maximum output, or how to align them to the newer thoughts. I think we discussed a case where one company probably could not continue the existing operations, but the team evolved and they picked up the new operations somewhere in Maharashtra side. So it happens when if you are basically if you are aligned with your team and team is with you and you are flexible, adaptable, so things will emerge out. And pandemic today we have the name of pandemic is Corona. Tomorrow we may have another name. Maybe after 5 years we may have something else. So crisis management, I used to call that Indians are good crisis managers. If you have to make them work, you have to create crisis. They'll work better. So that's how, I mean, it's only that the fear this time, the only thing which has changed, which I feel is the fear, the installation of fear is quite high. People have started thinking negatively. Otherwise, there is no crisis out of which India has not come out in a good way. But the only thing we have to really take care of the fear, which probably is killing the business community or entrepreneurs. That's what I feel.
Yeah, true, very true, rightly pointed out. And at this juncture, just to share with few of you, couple of weeks back on the same forum, we discussed couple of cases. I think Sanjeev, you might be familiar with some of the cases. I was sharing with CD, just to throw some light, like while we keep on talking about, I think it was shared by Rajiv, if I'm right, Sanjeev. For others, there was a case of a chain of restaurants in the western part of the country during the first phase of coronavirus. As simple as it is, they got together, took help of four consultants, professional consultants. My business is not running. My property and my asset is around 150 to 165 crores. What to do? I have 175 people. I cannot remove them. Use them and give me a business plan. So that means the promoters and the team was working while the world was under a lockdown and the country was under lockdown last year, nearly the same time. And they came out with an innovative idea of processed food, other things, where all the people are employed. And I was talking to Ramesh last time. They have even got funding of few hundred crores from Singapore. The company had transformed. So what Ramesh and Mr. Goyal you shared, that means we should not be waiting. We have to go out and do business. As Ramesh you pointed out, we have to be very clear what are we there for, right? And take it up. Sanjeev, since you are on over there, if you want, you can add a point or two. No issues. Please feel free.
Sandeep, before Sanjeev starts, I'll just add two lines on what you said.
Yes, please.
It's not only about changing and adapting immediately, because this crisis is very new. Probably, you see, it is like that for the health, you go for a 10 days meditation session or to a resort. So I think that deep down working is also required, because businesses have not done and faced this kind of situation. So I think before going for any change, they need to look at their resources, the outlook, and their own expectation even. When today probably what you were doing 1 year back may not be feasible today. So you might have to shut down the operation and start something new.
Absolutely.
So actually homework, the in-house work is more required in the beginning, because crisis is altogether nobody expected and nobody felt that such kind of thing may happen. In my entire 30 years approximately, I have been at home, was at home for almost 4-5 months. Never happened in total 30 years.
Never.
Yeah, Sandeep.
Yes.
Just to add, see, for example, if you look at social distancing, one of the things is, manufacturing is highly impacted. If you look at a manufacturing plant, you work shoulder to shoulder, the workers, in the assembly. Now with 2 meters distance, the entire process is getting impacted. The number of people required, right? The output. So if you look at, so I was just reading somewhere that if I do this 2 meter, the social distancing norm, the plant capacity will fall by 30, to 30% to produce. That's a huge delta. Now, which means I cannot afford that. Now, for any plant to survive, you need to operate at minimum 30% capacity. That's now. If that's going to be the scenario, then I need to see how do I, like Goyal was saying, I need to sit down and start, right? What's going to happen? How do I do this now? Right. No, that's going to be the key. I have to reinvent processes. I may have to do remote processing. I may have to bring in robots. I don't know. Right. So I think so going to drawing board, I think for many it could be a startup again.
Yes. You use the right word. We have to get into the startup mentality once again.
Possible. Yeah.
Not starting from scratch, but reinventing, looking at the strengths which we have, identifying the opportunities which exist. So number one, how do I survive? Because if I survive, then I will excel.
Correct.
Survival strategy comes first and then on.
So it's about responding, recovering, and then thriving.
Then
When I
driving.
say thriving, I then emerge stronger. I do fast.
True,
You
true,
know,
true.
that's a key.
Sanjeev, you wanted to say something?
Hey, Ramesh has really touched upon few of the point that I've been talking to few of the business owners. The point is that many of the new entrepreneurs, who are just joined the business maybe 10 years, they have never seen this kind of turnaround. Like Mr. Goyal
Correct.
is talking about 30 years,
Correct.
he has
Correct.
never been sitting. But these guys, new generation business owners, they have not experienced, they have only seen the, up of the
Good
mountain.
side of everything. Correct.
Yeah. So their mind is not tuned to accept it. First you have to accept, then the diagnosis start. I think
Yeah.
they are
Well said.
not understanding the gravity of the situation. The
Yeah.
first and foremost thing, and that is the reason they have to do the steps if they really want to survive. I'm talking about survival. I'm not talking about the expansion route, because even if some businessman is working for last 20 years, I talk to them, that's the time is the survival. First stage of a business has come down to
Very
see.
true.
So this is my take, and completely in sync with what Mr. Goel has talked about, what you talked about, Mr. Ramesh talked about, completely sync with that. Thank you.
No, I think it's a beautiful addition. You're absolutely right. At least many people have gone through 2-3 cycle of crisis, so it's not new to them. But for many others, it's a first time. So I think that's a fantastic. I think it's a very relevant point. I'm not used to. I've always been. Everything has been great and fantastic, and I'm also into a startup now. I'm an young entrepreneur, and suddenly, boom, this is hit. So I think it's a fantastic
Right.
and great insight.
Right.
And probably I'll
So
add on to
moving
this,
on from here,
Sanjeev, before we start, what Sanjeev has just said, like my son, the elder son, has joined me last year. And you see, he's saying that this is how the business happens. Because he has joined in such a crucial time, the kind of movement, the kind of thought process, or maybe the availability of manpower, or the way when things are happening, when he's experiencing the things which we have experienced only twice or thrice in the entire 30 years, he has
right.
started his career with that thing on the top. So yes, when
Correct.
people are going to face, the newer generation is going to have a different mindset, and I think there'll be what you call the corona immune. So there'll be crisis immune in times to come. In the beginning, if you have such kind of a tough fight, probably next decades they'll be quite lively. They'll remain lively. They'll not feel bad about anything. Yeah.
Hmm.
That's very important. Like coming and like if we conclude this point, that means businesses needs to get up, get their act together, plan out, look for how they can survive, and not keep waiting. That's very, very important message. And if it needs to go back, so that means you have to sit down, think, not just run around. So being resilient is very, very important. Getting active is very, very important. Now, this brings us to the second context, which is very important, because none of the businesses operates only with the entrepreneur. Human aspect is very, very critical. Now, we see a lot of people working from home. Ramesh, as you mentioned, we are expecting banks to work 24 into 7. We are looking at account opening online. All those are fine. But are we expecting a cultural change in the way people used to come to office? And with the new generation, as Mr. Goyal rightly pointed, his son coming into the business at this point of time has taken it in his stride. Yes, this is business. So Corona will happen and I have to go through it.
Hmm.
So what are the expectations which a businessman or entrepreneur should keep about the planning of future manpower, work culture, office culture as such? If you can throw some light on that, Manish.
Yeah, I
Because
think one good thing the pandemic has done is people have got time to think about themselves. Yeah, people have been able to discover their own, what they really want in life. People have understood, the importance of relationships, right? People have understood the need for work-life balance, right? They kind of, it was like, two things have got impacted is the way they look at work has changed. Basically, the way they look at life is actually changed for many. Even if you look at probably some of us here, all of us here, the way we look at people has changed. The way we look at ourselves has changed. The way we look at interaction, the way we relate to each other has changed. The way we look at work has changed. Right? Now, initial stage of fear and anxiety and all that, it's today, after 1 year. Actually, today, if you look at it, people have become very comfortable working from home. Right? So, in a recent research in Japan, it says 70% of the people before pandemic said they wanted to go to office. Now, the research is ulta. Right? 70% prefer to stay at home. So, they're saying because they got used to the convenience, they got used to the less commute which is going to happen. They feel they are able to focus more, deliver more. Right? They have a lot of time at hand. They're able to also do side things which they never could do when they went to office, in terms of hobbies, in terms of, and they're getting closer to their family. So one thing they've understood, the entire human psyche is gone for a change. See, any prolonged hardship can cause lasting behavioral change, actually, behavioral and psychological change. And that's what this kind of is doing, right? And this is going to have an impact on how people are going to view work, how are they going to work, and how organizations need to therefore view this entire thing. Right. So, for example, there's a keen awareness of self, which is emerged in people. That people today, for example, organizations, people are looking for organizations which have a purpose.
Okay.
They feel that, they're looking at what organizations have done during this pandemic. What have they done? Have they been compassionate? Have they been human? Right? What have they done for society? So they want meaningful work. They want to join organizations which will do larger thing for the community, for the society, where there's a purpose out of what I'm doing. So people have I think that's one key thing which is emerging. The other thing, remote working is here to stay, and they're very happy with it, most of them. Right? What will happen is there would be a hybrid stuff, and I say hybrid. For example, today, UK, there is a push for a bill that you should make flexi working mandatory. It's no longer a perk.
Okay.
Right. So that's going to be a new work now. Right. So anybody can opt for flexi working. Now, what's happening in this entire thing is the concept of space and time. Right. So what happened before the pandemic? We all went to office at a particular time. Sabke liye office time tha. And we all worked out of a particular place. Everybody converged into a particular office space. Now the entire thing has changed. Right. So there's no more synchronous timing. No, there is no synchronous space. So it is asynchronous timing. So I can work at any time. Right. So the entire concept has changed of timing. So there is no timing 9 to 5, 9 to 6. Right. So I can work anytime as long. So it's become output driven. So as long as you're able to deliver the output, you work at your time. And the concept of place, now it is work from anywhere. Forget about work from home. So there's no fixed place. Right. So this is kind of something which organizations have taken into consideration. Right. And that's going to be a reality. Now, which means the entire job designs will change. The entire organizational structural changes may happen. The way tasks are looked at will change. Leadership behaviors need to change. Right. And people today look for safety, security, because today people have become very concerned about. So, for example, a very harmless thing like touching the button of a lift today has become a very conscious thing. You never even thought of touching the button of a lift, before. Aajkal lift to touch. So the keen sense of touch, space, surface, that's become very critical. So I have to design offices, touchless experiences, I think is going to become the right. I don't have to touch things to do. It's a personal hygiene, personal care. People are very concerned about their own welfare, mental well-being. So office spaces, an office, physical space has to be designed to make employees feel safe, number one. Right. Number two, maintaining this physical distance, how do I still collaborate? Because when you came to office, you collaborate. But when you're going to be remote working, the challenge for organization is how do I still ensure collaborative working? So technology is going to play a huge role in this thing. So two things are changing. One is technology and one is behaviors. Now, both are going to be the future of work. Right? And how technology and human capital, they come to interface. Okay. And therefore, I as an organization, I still need to ensure productivity. I need to ensure that people are connected, people relate with each other, there is collaboration happening, right? But yes, they need to handle this. पहला क्या होता था remote working, work from home, तो it was given to some people. ठीक है, जाओ सर एक महीने के लिए मैं can I work from home, थोड़ा issue है घर पे, चलो चलो तू जाओ घर से काम करो. You know, it was more like a वो क्या करता था घर पे, काम करता था नहीं करता था कुछ. It was more like a ठीक है दे दिया, देखते हैं क्या करना है. Now you have to have proper method, process, policy for remote working. You need to have way people work, way they will be reviewed, the way they will be monitored, the way they will deliver. So remote working is going to be the reality.
Right.
Right. So there could be an hybrid model where I'm quiet, but otherwise it's going to be a reality. I think most people have got used to it. Pehla pandemic way it was more due to fear and that I cannot go out, I was quarantined and all that stuff. But now I think they're getting used to it. So the beauty of human beings here, we are extremely adaptable.
So what you're saying, Ramesh, if I got you right, you were saying that two things will be pertinent and our organization has to take care of it. One is work from home or work from anywhere is going to be there.
Yeah, of course.
Because people are getting used to it. And second, the same synchronized system of 9 o'clock office and 5 o'clock closure or 6 o'clock closure will not be the only way. So entrepreneurs or leaders have to see, if I have people outside, even few, how do they work with?
Yes. Collaboration is going to be the key.
Collaboration.
Working together. People get used to working alone. Okay, so leadership will change a bit in terms of how do I enable working. Leadership is no longer about command control. It's no longer about review. It is more about facilitation and enabling. Yeah, and I think leaders have to become more compassionate, more humane in their approach, because that's something which is the pandemic has taught people. Do they really care for their people? Another one of the trend I see is freelancers, contractual work may increase in proportion. Because when I'm doing remote working, I don't need, many times full-time employees to do what I'm doing. So there's a lot of work which will get outsourced, right? And more to freelancers and contractors.
Yes. Yes.
So the organization may become lean. I have critical workforce with me, but a lot of other things get outsourced or they get automated.
No, this is important. This is important, and taking on from what Ramesh shared, very, very important pointers. Because the organizations have to get ready for this. And if some of us feel that, this is only a wishful thinking, I'll share a real-time case which happened last week. I was talking 2 weeks back to a company which we are associated with in Gurgaon. And the same example, Ramesh, what you shared, happened with a very, very high-flying company, which everybody knows, Apple in US. When they opened up, nobody was ready to come to the office. They had 2 buildings. Most of the employees, as you rightly shared, they said, we are comfortable at home. We'll give you more from home. We are not interested in the swanky new office and come over there. And that is the case we are discussing. And the company in Gurgaon was saying, that's Apple. No, we are different. And this company has 350 people. 15 days down the line, the promoter is struggling to get 75% of his staff into Gurgaon office. We have been telling, let's create a structure. You are an IT company. And if you don't create it, you can't support your customers. So now they're sitting 24 hours, 3 of the promoters. Now the fact is, a human part of it, people's behavior and attitude have changed. Now, if organizations are going to provide it and I am going to be part of it, I will be out of that.
Correct.
Coming with this context to Mr. Goel, I'm sure you should be able to share a very exciting side of it, being both an entrepreneur and a person who is also facilitating businesses. Please, Mr. Goel.
See what Ramesh has shared. What Ramesh has shared, probably I very much agree with him on that part. But I still do remember the school days where the teacher was being forced to carry a stick. You see, most of the population, I'll say, majority of the population in India basically has been habitual of working in a supervised environment. Now, when we say supervised environment, the habit and the culture has just come up. And the people who have traveled abroad, they have worked in MNCs, people who have that kind of exposure, studied abroad, that percentage is very less, very less. The people who are working in factories, probably you see, they don't have any enjoyment facility at home. Probably myriad facilities like a fan or a light or maybe a sitting space, the chair, bed. I mean, nothing they have at home. I mean, we are talking about India as a country where the population and the availability of resources are quite different.
Correct.
And now when we
Right.
say work from home, I mean, that percentage, that population is definitely out of reach. They really cannot do anything at home. And if you look at today, like the maximum workforce we have in India is agriculture is one part, then the service sector. So probably the high-tech enabled companies, they can adapt to this culture. But rest of the things, like as you said, the automation can be one or maybe something else. So that may come up as a solution to the manufacturers or the traders or maybe other companies. But look at the core, like our key strength is human. And sizable portion of our population is basically they are now. Take an example of online schooling. Now governments and like I am part of some social initiatives. We were talking about how to give them a smartphone, how to give them a tablet, how to give them have access to the PC so that they can also learn parallelly. And
Yeah.
online schooling is definitely is not becoming that easy and enriching the way it was schooling was basically schooling or colleges. Now, if you look at the habit or the culture or the system in which we have grown up over a period of time, supervising is a concept. One, most of the companies yet they are not ready to have the systems or maybe the processes in place where they can monitor the production or performance of a person at home. As you rightly said, एक महीने का जो है 1 month experimentation basis somebody has been asked to do it. But actually, I mean, it has not been very positive. Now, second biggest, like if you like, I was browsing while we were talking. Work from home has become a cause of depression and anxiety in most of the people who were not habitual, because we call ourselves as a social animal. And in case if we do not meet and greet and just sit with the computer for the whole time, chances are that we'll be fatigued very soon. Like whatever, like we join clubs, we join NGOs, we join some volunteer work. Now that basically the psyche and the nature of a human is to go out. Now because I'm associated with Rotary deeply now, so I'll take an example of Rotary. The Rotary came out with the concept of fellowship in US. Paul Harris, I mean, they had the concept of fellowship. Now, when I studied fellowship, the only purpose of fellowship I could find out is to make people come out, have meeting in person and see each other and talk. When the core objective of fellowship was this, so that people do know each other and people have a common platform where they can interact and where they can talk. Now today, if everything is done online, I really feel that the kind of schooling or college education we have gone through, the newer generation probably will adapt faster. But
Yes.
the population, which is around 60%, adaptation for them is quite challenging. One. Second, yes, as we had a subject as what should we do to business strategy post pandemic. So what I was saying that like as we said that you take a break 10 days and see realign your business. That includes your kind of manpower you have hired, the person who has been on the desk for 10 years, you know that he starts loving the chair. And when he says the chair does not belong to you, why he starts crying. So we need to look at that what kind of manpower we need to hire. We need to see what kind of new systems we have to put in place. We
Yes.
need to see the ROI factor. We need to see that target customers are going to change. We need to see the way manufacturing will happen or the deliveries will happen, trading will happen. Now today, like a couple of my friends who are into manufacturing, they are saying, why don't you help us in exporting our products? That will be much easier. So people have started exploring, but yes, there has to be a system in place where thinking also is customized, that yes, you are into this trade and you think like this at least, so that you reach to, like if you do not give a curriculum to a school student, he will not be able to appear for any exam. So we probably, I and Sandeep, and probably with the help of you all, will try to create a protocol for thinking that yes, at least you adhere to this and think in this way. We can create a form, and people probably will have some picture coming out from that form,
Right.
and it may help them out.
Very rightly. Very rightly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because it
I
is
think just to add to Mr. Goel, see, we have India or Bharat. Both are different, right? So, now that's a challenge. Now we need to understand, but there will be at one side, I think there'll be a lot of unemployment because manufacturing has no other option but to automate, right? So it happened to the Industrial Revolution. It's best to refer back to history. If you look at the Industrial Revolution,
yes,
it shook the the way things worked. But I think there's another revolution which is happening. So technology will play a huge role. They come back to work. There will be certain roles which will become permanently work from home is my view. Right, and there will be certain things where we may have to go meet customers, we have to meet others, we have to meet each other.
right. While you're bringing this point in, let's quickly get into the final parameter of it, technology enablement, because we have a
Correct. Good one.
What you're saying is technology is going to play a crucial role, right?
Yeah, that I think is because it was happening, but the pandemic has made it happen faster. So I guess the option is not there to do it at your own pace. So because see, as a manufacturer, I have to survive. So if I have to automate fast, I have to automate. I mean, I may have, initially I was kind of fought between kind of saying इतना employment लोगों को देना है, इतना workers है, थोड़ा करते हैं. अभी इतना क्यों invest करना है, थोड़ा cheap labor है. But now I think for many, the pandemic is kind of forcing them to automate because if my production stops, my life is gone. So so if it's happening in lots in the automobile sector now, if you look at it, and also the fear, I bring in one worker and 300 get corona, what do I do? I mean, so a lot of this is forcing. So I think it's going to happen in one way. So one is automation, yes, in a major way, and remote working to a large extent will be a possibility. There will be hybrid, as I said.
Hybrid,
yeah. But there will be some roles, some tasks, some of the jobs that will be permanently remote. That's my way.
Couple of things is bound to change, Ramesh, as you're saying, and Mr. Goel, as you rightly put it, there will be constraints in some of the areas.
Direct.
No doubt about it. If I share an example of my personal experience, very simple. I keep on doing it because we need to study a lot and evaluate a lot while we consult companies. So I did a small exercise while buying groceries and vegetables. I keep on sharing with Sanjeev also once in a while online. So I have 3 portals. I have XYZ to name some of them, Big Basket or Reliance or over there. I type in wherever I get the cheapest total sum I order. In the process, I realized in the last 45 days, my nearest supple store lost consistently the business because I won't name the sites. Despite the perception that this site, everything is expensive, I used to think so. I saved a couple of hundreds by paying even the delivery charges. I shared with one of our panelists, Pankaj, today in the morning. He says, are you sure? He went and did it. So delivery mechanism is different. If the store does not change tomorrow, will the store survive?
Intermediation is being killed by technology. So, but another thing which is happening, Sandeep, just to add to what you're saying, many of the Kirana stores are adopting digital way, right? Because they know that is the way for them to survive. Right. I need to be a part of that supply chain, right? So, for example, if you look at Dunzo is doing a good job. So I go and, I still can order online through Dunzo, but he gets it from the local Kirana store for me. So, so that's the way the things are evolving. So even the local Kirana guy probably has to go into the digital adoption.
Pointed out, Ramesh, like when we are building up strategies, starting from being resilient, one point, let's get working, which we all agreed to, build your survival. Second, the manpower orientation we feel at this juncture will change. Yes, there will be certain constraints, no doubt, as Mr. Goel rightly pointed out, in manufacturing, in agriculture, but yes, There might be a revolution like the industrial revolution. A technology is just on the brink right now, taking over. We have to see how it works out, because the business finally will see what is beneficial for them as an outcome.
And for manpower, it will be reskilling. A lot of reskilling is required.
Reskilling is consistent.
That is going to happen because I need to get new skills for me if I need to get into this new normal, which is going to happen. So companies have to will focus a lot on reskilling of their employees. Yeah, so that is bound to happen.
Right. And not only reskilling, very exciting things are happening, Mr. Goel, to just take up. Some companies are also helping people work from home now. They are equipping them by putting up a small workstation at home, small finance, like Tatas are doing it, and enabling a person to work from home and training the team leaders to manage staff outside office.
Right.
And I'm sure Ramesh will be involved in some of those exercises, because that's your core area, which is there.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Ramesh, can you hear us? I think there's some problem with his
bandwidth issue was there. So anyway.
Now, while we are coming to the end of this session, if anybody wants to ask anything or have any inputs or have any thoughts, any query, please put it on the chat. Or you can unmute and ask us also.
In the meantime, things come up like what you said, technology. You look at in last probably 22 decades.
Right.
When BPO started in India way back in '99.
Right.
I remember the accountant who was working on, let's say 5,000, 6,000. The industry gave them a new inspiration. The industry gave them that you are more worth than what you are today. The salary structures changed, the saving pattern behavior got changed. Then this, like you take another example of this taxi apps.
Right.
The way the living of drivers got changed. They became entrepreneurs rather than like employee. You see, as we move on, the technology enablement will definitely change the way we are living or the people are living. But it is only like if you talk about talking like way back, I remember when I had first phone installed in, I think 1980s early, I think. So connecting to a people outside Delhi was something very impossible. Connect call. And so you see, technology is definitely advancing at a much faster pace than we can think of. But definitely you see that you have to really now take example of Swiggy. Lakhs of people are into the delivery business right now, and they're earning more than what they could have earned in their all these kind of traditional jobs. So probably the time will come and give newer opportunity to the people, and it is up to the entrepreneurs if they can really take stock of this opportunity. I'll say the pandemic has created availability of workforce, which is now sitting ideal, or probably they may unemployed in next couple of months or a year. So this is a huge resource bank which has been created. So if probably entrepreneurs can think innovatively and can make them, can bring them on a platform where they can generate revenue or maybe the earnings not only for themselves, but probably they garner the growth, they participate in the growth of the country as well.
Right. Now, these are some of the problems which we'll face as we shift to technology, which are there. Now, these are very, very important points. Just to summarize, strategizing will be different for each single company, each single entrepreneur, each single operation, no doubt about it. But each, as Mr. Goel and Ramesh has pointed out, has to come out, sit down, think, find out how to survive and go on. Be ready to change. Look at the manpower. It's going to have a transition. There are easy manpower also available, as Ramesh pointed out. A lot of consulting assignments are coming up. Instead of having a fixed employee, big companies are moving on to that. Can I take help of retainership? Get into it. Those models are going to be prevalent, where even large companies are getting ready, which is there. And technology is going to be part of it, whether we like it or not. Any points or any parameters which Ramesh, Sanjeev, you wanted to add something?
One of the point that you bring into that we have to move towards, contractual and freelance sort of a professional and the work. I think it's a high time for Indian economy to accept it. Culturally, we have to change. If I, in the last one of the forum I talked about in 2009 when world was hit by recession, companies in the Europe, they come out very fast because most of the people are on contractual and government has developed some kind of a mechanism so that consumption should not fall down and they come out of recession. Now the same, because your from the finance point of view, your cash is not coming, but there is a cash out in terms of paying the salaries and different stuffs. Now everybody is now talking about customer centric expenses, which is required to retain your customer. That expenses, you need to have it in your P&L. That means what? You don't have to be a luxurious office if it's not bringing you a business. So don't afford it. Now for its IT sector, many of the top IT sectors have already they decided to vacate the offices because they can work from anywhere. So they don't require any kind of, flashy offices to do the better programming. They can do it from the home itself.
Right.
So I think these are some of the changes, because yes, we understand, and this is part of our revival thing that we have to really see the cost structures of our organizations.
Very true. Very true.
So because we are getting into emotional and getting into a lot of expenses, now we need to be more disciplined in the expenses if we want to see black in our bottom line. So I think these are that is being very nicely throughout the session and should be implemented and help the businesses to quickly move from survival to the growth mode. That I can think of.
Okay. I think we are on to 4:06. We should be winding up. In fact, it was a good discussion. We deliberated on a lot of points and parameters. We like to state it upfront that we would like to create a platform where entrepreneurs and people feel comfortable. They can come, discuss, understand, extrapolate, and evaluate. And there are various ways every single business can find a path forward. It is only that if I keep on waiting, there might not be any answer. But if I'm ready to evaluate, understand the future, move, and ready to change, things are bound to happen. It is happening all across.
You can't deny the change. That's what I wanted to say.
You can't.
It's happening. So I think people have to take stock.
It has to. See, I'm just taking example of 4 of us because other people present, I'm not able to see the faces. We can see Mr. Virendra there, Mr. Uttam there, Trisha there, Mr. Agarwal there. Today, if I say Mr. Goyal is there as an entrepreneur and business mentor. Sanjeev, whom I can see right now, is a professional financial mentor and a professional CA who has been mentoring, helping, and facilitating a lot of companies restructure. I can see Ramesh over there, who is a coach and helping top-line people to realign on manpower. Okay, so everybody agreeing and talking on the same parameters that what's going to come. So it's time to change. Ramesh has put it right. With that, I'd like to conclude today's session. Thanks everyone for joining in. Thank you, Ramesh, for your time and
Thanks, Goyal.
In Bangalore. Thank you, Mr. Goyal.
Thanks, Sanjeev.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Sanjeev.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, all of you.
Thank you, Ramesh. Thank you, Sanjeev.
Yeah, great insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye.